In our first story, the president has appointed Joseph Anokye as the acting Director General of the National Communication Authority. The appointment was contained in a January 24, 2017 letter signed by the Communications Minister-designate, Ursula Akufo-Addo, who was acting as the president's representative. Mr. Anokye's appointment is expected to take immediate effect if he were to accept the appointment. Until his appointment, though, Mr. Anokye worked at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, an independent agency of the executive branch of the United States federal government responsible for the civilian space program, as well as aeronautics and aerospace research. The technology and communications guru is also credited for mounting a comprehensive and rigorous IT strategy that helped the NPP win the 2016 general elections. Mr. Anokye is expected to bring his experience to bear at the NCA and to streamline activities of the authority when he assumes office. The National Communications Authority is the government of Ghana agency responsible for the licensing of media houses and regulating communications activities and services here in our country. The performance of the authority has been an issue of critical concern, with critics suggesting the authority has performed below par. Now, former President Jerry John Rawlings has described as a fabrication the report on Radio France International, alleging he commented on the political crisis in the Gambia. The former leader, in a statement Sunday, said he has granted no interview to any local or international news media on the subject matter of the Gambia crisis. A report on RFI claimed Mr. Rawlings commented on efforts of the Economic Community of West African States and African Union to get former Gambian President Yahya Jammeh to hand over power to President now Adama Barrow. According to the French radio station, the founder of the National Democratic Congress advocated for the regional body to send troops to oust Cameroonian President Paul Biya, but Mr. Rawlings condemned in the quote strongest terms the attempt by the RFI to smear his reputation with such falsehood. Now, 57 personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service in the Upper West region have up to the close of today to report at the news stations or face sanctions. Although officials of the service say the transfers are to achieve discipline and maximum output from personnel, the affected officers say they are being punished for refusing to pay a levy for the construction of a gym and canteen. Rafiq Salam reports from WA.
The letter, which was issued and signed by the Upper West Regional Commander of the Ghana National Fire Service, Assistant Chief Fire Officer James Emmanuel Kwao, on January 17, 2017, transferred 57 officers from their current place of work to another. The transfers are to take effect by the close of 24th January 2017. The purpose, according to the Regional Fire Officer, is to achieve maximum output from personnel and also to bring about discipline and control in the various command districts in the region.
Some have stayed at a particular municipality or a district for over 26 years without a change. Majority of them have stayed over 15 good years without change. And this is bringing different entrench themselves as a thing God in their various districts and then municipalities. And if you don't change them, indiscipline will set in. And as part of the service regulations and the conditions, there is a need for them to be changed to other districts so that others will also come. We want to realign the personnel, realign the stations. Some of them are understaffed, and as such, we have to improve their staffing so that the service can move forward and then deliver as expected.
He has warned that all personnel who refuse to report at their news stations before the close of Tuesday, January 24, will have disciplinary measures taken against them which could lead to their dismissal.
They shouldn't grumble because in their own handwriting of acceptance into the service, they agreed that anywhere that they will be transferred to, they will go. So why do they grumble by this time? For instance, from 2012 to date, just 5 years, I've gone through 3 regions, and somebody is sitting at a particular municipality for 26 years, 15 years, not the best.
However, some of the affected personnel who spoke to me off camera stated that they have no qualms about the transfer, but believe that he's doing that in an attempt to dismember them for resisting to pay an amount of 60 Ghana cedis levied on every personnel of the service in the region for the construction of a canteen and a gym, of whose work is currently ongoing.
You are sending us to go and dump us there. We have left our families and going to our new stations to cramp ourselves like sardines. No accommodation for us. So many chief fire officers have come. And because of this accommodation problem, they were not transferring people like that. He has come and he is not having a human face, but we know the trick. It is because he asked us to pay 60 Ghana cedis each for the construction of a gym and a canteen, and we refused. That is why he said we should go.
An allegation the Assistant Chief Fire Officer has flatly refused. Reporting for J News, Rafiq Salam.
Let's return to Accra, where President Akufo-Addo has announced 10 names to be vetted as regional ministers. Featuring prominently in the list is Akufo-Addo, who is the NPP's Central Region General Secretary. He's been nominated as a Central Regional Minister designate pending vetting and approval by the legislature. Duncan was key in the landslide victory chalked by the NPP in the region, set to be a swing region. Ishmael Ashite returns as a Greater Accra Region Minister designate, with Dr. Archibald Letcher and Simon Osei-Mensah named as Volta and Ashanti Regional Minister designates respectively. Here's the President making that announcement on Tuesday.
This is the teaching and the language of the Constitution, and it requires that I appoint, with the prior approval of Parliament, for each region a Minister of State who shall. The Regional Minister designate for the Volta region. It's a very big undertaking, and we have to have somebody who enjoys a lot of public confidence and who people will believe when he says it's a good idea for us to create these regions. So I have the very, very big honor to introduce Archibald Letcher. He has been twice MPP candidate for Ho, unsuccessful. He didn't try the third time like me, he should have. The region which is at the heart, the head and the heart of the new patriotic party. With all the complexities there are in managing the affairs of that region, I believe he has both the temperament and the pedigree to be a good representative of the president in the Ashanti region. He's Simon Osei-Mensah. He's the one that we have chosen. The next is a colleague, a fellow member of President Kufuor's cabinet, all-rounder, and then a very, very responsible public servant. He's already paid considerably his dues to our country. And we're summoning him again for one last effort in the public life. That is Dr. Kwaku Afri. He is the minister designate for the Western region. But the Central region, I think, will do with his energy and his concern. He's passionately concerned about the life of his people and whatever he can do to improve it. I believe that he will make an outstanding regional minister. And that is why I'm recommending to the House that Kwamna Duncan the transition from regional chairman to regional minister will not be a difficult one for him. His background and experience is already sufficient justification for saying that the Accra now, which is the most populous region in our country, which all of us from different parts of Ghana find ourselves here, will find in him that calm, measured, stable personality that we need to have a successful regional minister. So he's the person that I have sent, whose name I've sent to Parliament for regional minister. That is Ishmael Ashite.
So the big question, what do these nominees bring on board? Here are a few speaking to Joy News.
I think we need to build bridges with the people. We need to work harder and to make sure that the people understand what our party stands for, and for them to understand that we are Ghanaians like they are, and therefore they should partner us for development.
Your party in the run-up to the elections promised to create another region out of the region. There's also a talk of a harbor, especially in the Keita area.
Right.
How are you hoping to ensure that this comes to fruition?
No, it is a commitment that we made to the people of the Volta region. And as regional minister, I will have to ensure that we live up to our promise to the people.
And beyond these two that I spoke about, the region, employment opportunity is quite low. What is your main objective in transforming the economic potentials of the region?
Yeah, I think our manifesto promise of one district, one factory is a policy that we are going to use to create jobs for the young people in our region.
The Northern Regional Minister Designate also joins us here. Congratulations once again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are heading to a very volatile region, the Northern region, and the president was clear in his, comments that, potential conflict areas, Yendi, Bimbila, Bumprugu, you have to ensure that these things are resolved so that next time when we come here, it will be success stories that we will be telling. What is the way forward in addressing some of these issues?
Yes, one of the way forward in getting solutions to the conflict challenges in Northern region in particular has to do with even selecting me as a young person. You realize that in most cases, the people they mobilize who have the energy to come out to cause confusion, they use the youth. And that is why they have picked me to be a representative of the young people who have the energy and the blood to come out to demonstrate. We want to see and demonstrate to them that young people, if you reduce yourself to good manners, you can be picked to even represent the government, represent your people at the national level, so that you can be able to bring economic development interventions to them. Apart from that, I am somebody who is born and bred and lived in Northern region throughout my life. My background is development studies, and I have been able to learn the theory and the practical aspect of identifying developmental challenges of community. One of the challenges is a conflict. That is what people are looking at Northern region. But much as we have this conflict, we also have very huge potentials in Northern region. So if we are able to get investors to be able to come out to turn their potentials into interventions, factories, industry, when people are engaged and they have very good jobs, very good businesses doing, I am telling you, nobody will want to come out to fight.
One word from Mr. Burginabu. You have confidence that Salifu will deliver on the many promises you've made to the people of the Northern region?
Yes, because I am confident. I recommended him to the president, and I am also going to work with him closely. There is nothing, there will be no conflict anymore in the Northern region. I'm assuring you. We have identified that there's no need conflict. We should talk of poverty, jobs. You know, when there are jobs, there are money in your pocket, why do you want to go for conflict?
And let's speak to the Bonahafo Regional Minister Designate, Mr. Asuma Chairman, whom I've known personally for several years. Congratulations, finally. You've earned your spot. Are you ready for the challenge ahead?
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to all media practitioners, the MPP as a party, the President of the Republic of Ghana. The challenges ahead of us are challenges that we are well convinced and settled in mind. We are so certain that these challenges can be dealt with in a very perfect manner, because this is not the first time that the MPP is coming into government. We did it under President Kufuor's era, and we believe under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo too we can do. Why?
And we'll certainly hold these leaders accountable the moment they hit the ground running, but we wish them well. Let's go elsewhere. And the Education Minister Designate has advocated for English language to be maintained as the medium of instruction in schools in our country. Matthew Poku-Prempeh explained that because students are not trained for only Ghana, they need to be taught the English language, which makes them globally competitive. Taking his turn before Parliament's Appointments Committee Tuesday, the Mencia South Member of Parliament said attempts to introduce the Ghanaian language as a medium of teaching should be reconsidered. Also, for the last 2 years, Ghanaians have fiercely debated a decision by the then National Democratic Congress government to change English as a medium of instruction in schools.
We don't train only people for only Ghana. We train ourselves to become globally competitive. And when you look around the world, there's a language of business, there's a language of trade, there's a language of commerce, there's a language of ICT, where even countries with one language learn that as a second language. Thank God, we, because of our colonial past, had that language, English. And books and everything is written in English. And I think that we have to look at it again, especially for a country with many languages. Going to pick one and saying that it should be the dominant language where everybody should learn is problematic. China has a language, official language, Mandarin. There are different versions of Mandarin, and it's only one version that has been, and even that in China is a problem. So, not where everybody has a proud culture, history, and tradition, and whose history or tradition should be lost in making one dominant language. And interestingly, if you and your wife, you're from the coast, Fanti, your wife is from the north, Mamprusi, and you speak different languages, and you live because of work in Volta region, Hohoi, which language would your child be instructed in? And so we have to, as a group, as Parliament, think about some of these and decide, because Parliament approves policy, and decide for the country where we have to go. I can't think far on that issue.
Deputy Majority Leader in Parliament Sarah Adjoa-Safo, Asin Central Member of Parliament Kennedy Ohene-Japan, and former Member of Parliament for Navrongo Central Mac Woyongo are among the 50 worst performing MPs between 2012 and 2016. That's according to the latest report by civil society organization Odikro, which assessed the performance of MPs of the 6th Parliament. Joseph Akablay has the rest of the story.
The organization relied on information from Parliament's official website, Hansard, order paper, votes and proceedings as data to assess the MPs on attendance and contribution on the floor of the House, as well as during committee meetings. The findings indicate that 52 MPs out of the 275 contributed to amendments to over 81 bills approved by Parliament. The report reveals majority of the bills passed centered on tax bills introduced to impose or revise taxes, custom duties and levies. Presenting the findings, content manager of the organization, Lolan Ekosego, said Parliament's engagement with civil society organizations was low.
Over 1,500 committee reports. Of those 1,500 committee reports, we found that Parliament had engaged with CSOs only 4% of the time. So that is in about 55 committee reports, there was a record of Parliament having met with, let's say, the Ghana Federation for the Disabled or Imani or another CSO. And so that's a very, very low rate of engagement with CSOs.
On the performance of MPs, MP for Old Trafford, Dr. Anthony Akutose was ranked as the best MP, followed closely by MP for Ketu North, James Kluchi Aveji. Evans Paul Edu, who represented Sefriyosu in the 6th Parliament, was placed last in the performance ranking. Some 19 MPs were classified as silent MPs who failed to utter a single statement in their 4 years in the House.
19 MPs from 2013 to 2016 did not utter a single word on the floor of Parliament. Now we find that very disappointing, especially since one of them was Deputy Chief Whip on the majority side. And so she was a leader and had preferential access to speech on the floor of Parliament, but didn't take advantage of it. And so naturally, we're curious, what were some of the reasons why MPs may or may not have spoken in Parliament?
Reacting to findings, MP for Whole West, Emmanuel Kwesi Bejira, commended the organization, but added it may not reflect the actual situation.
Well, especially when you're a first timer, it's difficult for you to make statement. You need to grow to the process to be able to make statement. But I'm not holding brief for anybody who has not made statement. Statement on the floor of the House is not the only thing that we do. We have committee meetings. You contribute at the committee level. As for statement, just one out of it. You ask questions on the floor. They ask questions, ministers, and also you also contribute at the committee level. So these are the things that they have to look at. It's not only about making statement. I also mentioned that there's one particular person who comes to the floor and talk, and that person has been marked 0, that he has not contributed. What about that too? Look at the report, you notice that those who were rated 50 high are chairmen of committees, and they lay the report, they debate the report, they bring the report to the floor of the House, so they are giving preference to speak, and that's the rules of the House. We can't change unless we change our standing orders.
The organization is calling for timely upload of records of the House as well as voting records of members of Parliament to aid research.
And that's it for the AM News. Of course, we do have a lot more news on our website, myjoyonline.com. And we will soon visit the page to find out what's making headlines on the page. Still ahead, we've got the newspapers as well. We'll find out what's making headlines in the various newspapers that we have here on our show. That's also the Corruption Perception Index 2016. We will take a look at that. Ghana's been placed somewhere. How well are we doing? So, for instance, Ghana scored 43 points out of a possible clean score of 100 and ranked the country 70 out of 176 countries included in this year's index. All right, so details of that when we settle with our guest on AM Talk. The Black Stars and the AFCON 2017 group stage matches against the Pharaohs of Egypt later this evening. Ahead of that game, we'll hit the streets. Today, we're sitting down at a taxi rank with some taxi drivers because in the past, we've known them for making a lot of noise, especially when we have games and when we score, and they display the Ghana flags in their vehicles. But that phenomenon seems to be changing. So we'll find out why. We also go to Gabon and join Benedict's Akwesi Owusu-Dankwa. He sits down with some Ghanaians living in Gabon to assess the game later this evening. So there's lots of things to look at. It's AM Business on a Wednesday as well. Stay with us. I come back with the newspapers.